wrists when he pulls the flag. He instead of holding it tight like this, he goes.
Yeah, then tonight we'll start off with the tax abatement with the 3 Logansport manufacturers. Billy?
All right, good evening. Technically it's 8 companies, 12 abatements. Every year we individually do tax abatements, but annually we have to do the compliance piece of it. The state has rules that we have to be completed, approved or denied by June 30th of each year. So thank you for having this special meeting. We don't get them until early June, so there's no way to get them on your June packet. Again, we have 8 companies, 12 abatements. I sent you all the information. We do have 3 out of compliance, and when I questioned all 3 of them, I had some repetitive responses. Of course, COVID, the pandemic hit some businesses harder than the others, and they are attempting to hire people. If you drive around town, you see a lot of hiring right now, sign-on bonuses, but there's some challenges right now with hiring. Again, the 3 are A. Ramon, Matthew Warren, and Logan Machine, and you have all the numbers on what their decreases are. When they talk about having trouble hiring, just give you a couple of quick stats. Cass County currently is at 3.6% unemployment, which is very good. But that's a challenge when you're looking for workers, when you have 3.6 unemployment. In the county, we have 18,252 eligible workers. We have 657 unemployed. The problem lies with, in my opinion and their opinion too, is a lot of government subsidies right now. There's not a ton of incentive for some to find a job when they're making more unemployment. That will in July 1st, they will have to prove that they're looking again for jobs. Right now they have that waiver because of the pandemic. And the $300 above and beyond the weekly unemployment will go away. That along with stimulus payments and things like that, it's just hard to hire right now. This information is as of 2020 tax year, and as you know, that was in the full battle of the pandemic, so a reason some of these employers had difficulties. I would suggest, and I've talked to Dave about this, maybe bring in 1 company a month. I really don't want to bring in multiple companies at the same time because there is a competitive workforce thing going on right now. But even the ones not out of compliance, bring them in once a month to kind of give an overview about their business and what's going on and challenges, strengths, opportunities, so you can hear it directly from them. I would highly recommend that we pass all these companies with compliance. I just think it's a bad idea to waive an abatement with the current situation. So that's my recommendation.
Anybody have any questions for Billy? Why are they so late if they knew there's a June 30 deadline?
They're not late. They go to the auditor and the assessor. They're due by May 15th. They kind of straggle in. I get them. They don't get right to me. I got to go to the auditor and they go through the paperwork. I usually get them about a week to go in May, at the end of May, and then I put all my work together, my worksheets and calculations, things like that. And having to have a committee meeting before the June meeting.
And the state doesn't allow us with the same excuse of being late?
No.
Okay.
No.
These 3 companies that you said weren't able to be in compliance, we haven't had any issues with them before, have we?
Logan Machine, no, never. Matthew Warren, we're still within investment timeline, Avery Ramon, we have had an issue. I think Avery Ramon came here last year and spoke to council. As you look at, I gave you a year-over-year comparison. That's the one company I would say that is struggling some, but they are looking to hire people. Right now they're at 171 employees at $7 million payroll. So the one of the three, yes, we had in here last year.
Anybody else? Any objection to move it forward to the special city council meeting after the finance committee?
No.
All right, moving on. Next, Paxton Retail.
Buxton?
I put it down wrong, Billy.
It's all right. I hope the Tyson numbers stood out to you guys when you looked at that spreadsheet. Yep, their growth is pretty immense in Logansport. They're a great company to Logansport, so I just want to point that out. Buxton, we've had them for a little over a year now. I am requesting that we do our part to renew the Buxton retail recruitment renewal. We did get it down from $56,000 to $35,000. I'm requesting that the city covers 3/4 of that, which is $26,250. Park development, which is the developer at the mall, will cover the other 25%. This gives us the opportunity to use it anywhere we want in Logansport. We can use it at Ivy Tech Development, downtown, west side, north side, south side, it doesn't matter, east side. Right now, at the retail environment, they're needed, just to put it simple. They have the connections, they have the knowledge, they have the respect in the retail world, and retail right now is challenging. So it's a great read now. I did throw some positives down that they accomplished in the past year with the Planet Fitness, Home and Squeeze, the retail in front of Home Depot. We do have an LOI that I cannot announce right now for the mall. Soon we will. They're also helping with, we're trying to land a national retail daycare. Right now we have a huge need in Logansport for daycares. Tyson alone needs to place like 400 to 500 kids. And with that you get turnover, you get people living out of town, you get transportation issues. So they're going to bat for us trying to find a daycare to bring to Logansport. So I do highly recommend that we fund the $26,250.
Any questions for Bill? If no objection, moving on to tonight's city council meeting. Thanks, Billy.
Thank you.
Next item up is for clerk treasurer. Want to move money from the MVH fund. Anything to say on that? It's just
a formality, basically. Government community crossing.
Yeah.
That's money that's already been spent, and we've already been reimbursed for it. The trouble is the original ordinance didn't allow for the overture on the expenditure. We just need to approve.
Oh, now, okay. That's the next one. Does that also include that West Market where we had the overage? That's what it was? Okay. Yeah. Any questions for Dwayne? No objections. We'll move forward to the July 12th City Council meeting.
I'll send out that ordinance so that you'll see the actual amount, so that you'll see the.
Yeah. But it's going to be on July 12th.
Yes.
Yeah. The 4th.
The only thing that's on tonight's council
is the two that Billy had. Yeah. All right. The next thing we want to move some CARES money. You want to say anything on that?
That's our
yeah.
200 or our 400 plus thousand that we're going to take that we've gotten already from the CARES Act. The first distribution. We took 243 was it, Bill, for the small loan program.
$237,000.
Yeah, I think it was like 243 went, and then we didn't disperse it all. So we want to replace that money back into the seeded fund.
Yeah.
And then we'll move the rest of it out into the general fund to be dispersed from there. And it'll take appropriations to do both those movements.
Any
General into those two.
Yeah.
Into those two funds.
Any objection to moving? Let's move it on to the July 12th.
Yeah, that'll go to July 12th.
Yeah. The meeting also, and the second payment coming from the CARES will be May of 2022, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's for the ARP. That's a different fund. And I don't know, Dave, do you want to address the movement of that, where we want to put that second half of that CARES Act, moving that into the payment for that?
Yeah, we had, Dwayne and I had talked, and the way we got that CARES Act money was, we basically used public safety, payroll was the simplest way for us to provide that. So we were thinking about putting the balance left after the seeded fund into the lit fund for public safety.
Okay, so I'm lost, Kyle.
Okay, the CARES Act money that we got
This year.
we got that money based on payroll, basically, for public safety. Jacob, am I saying that correctly? Yeah, if you want to address that.
So this was the money, so this isn't the ARP base money that is coming. This is the CARES Act that was only reimbursement for expenses, and for a long time, it was basically for PPE or, certain things that, like, we closed down the parks, and so we used some of that, but they changed the guidance towards the end where you could get reimbursed for the payroll for police or fire. And so that's what we did, was we decided that we might as well just get the money. It was $575 total that we ended up getting from that program, $575,000. And so now it's just sitting in that fund, and we have to move it to the general fund. But yeah, that's how we got.
So whatever the seeded fund doesn't, the seeded fund is $230,000 to $40,000. That money will come out of there, and then we were thinking we'd just put the balance in the lit fund if everybody was okay with that. But like Dwayne says, it has to go through the general fund first.
Right, it has to go through, so we have to move it out of the CARES fund, which we created.
Thank you, Jacob.
And then it has to go to the general fund where it can be appropriated so that it can be followed. So that's for the guidelines of the state. So replacing part of it for seeded, and then the other half would go into the used for fire truck or whatever we want to use it for.
Any other questions on it? Then we'll move it on to July 12th, City Council meeting. Next project we got is cost of the Erie Avenue project.
It's not on the screen, but I can put it on the screen. You have some.
Yeah, well, if we need to. Good evening, Council, Mayor. We heard last time at our last meeting, we wanted to do the whole corridor. So we're coming back to you guys today to request funding to do the design from 5th Street to 17th Street of Erie Avenue. We were able to narrow down a couple conceptual costs and then a resultant design fee. We had originally talked around $550,000. After doing some checking with survey, geotech, we're requesting $585,000 for the full corridor design and construction plan development, funding applications for Erie Avenue from 5th Street to 17th. We can go through some of the concepts. I think a lot of you have kind of seen those.
I think we passed out some last time afterwards as well. I may have missed you, Scott, but I left some on your desk. I don't know if you got those, but the concepts are similar to what those were. But we'd be happy to go through questions that you would have either about the design contract or about, we're not to the point that we know what typical sections. There's a lot of different options and things that you get to, the city's going to get to weigh in on and decide on. But this is a total reconstruction of Erie Avenue in some fashion of phasing, depending on funding you can get and so forth. Not been decided. I mean, we've talked about starting at the west end, the commercial area, but all those things can be yet to be determined.
So what you're asking for tonight to move on to July 12th city council meeting is for the city council come up for design and survey of $585,000. Any other questions? If not, we'll move it on to July 12th city council meeting.
Okay, I did want to also mention there will be a second thing, a question at the council meeting, and that is in order to go for, if we decide we want to go for some community crossings funding, that will be due at the end of July, and the council has to support that financial backing. And so we would like to come to that July same meeting with what that request will be for backing.
Do we have a number? Or will we have one?
We will have one then. We can tell you that we had a ballpark. We're going to fine tune that, but that was the total was 1.9 million, and about a little over $1 million was the local portion. So remember, that is a program that's 50-50 in funding. And then there were a few things that they won't pay for. So it would be around $1 million.
Okay.
And we'll prepare that before so that we have a finite number before the 12th.
All right. Any objection? If not, we'll move it forward to the $585,000 for survey and design, and approximately $1 million for total cost of the city of Logansport. If not, we'll move it on to.
What are we talking? $1,585,000.
Approximately.
Yeah, the 1 million is a separate number for construction. The 585 is a separate number so it would be the two combined would be your match money for that first phase. I mean, but that gets you the design of the entire corridor and maybe future applications and fund, and so forth. So.
And what he's saying here, to file the application, he needs a commitment from us one way or the other, yes or no, for him to go on to make the application for the money.
Yes, because you won't have another meeting until we are past the point where we need to know that at the end of July.
So we're talking approximately then, Scott, $585,000 up front right now that they'll need so we can start his survey and the design, and then at a later date, but the grant writers want to guarantee from the city that the money's going to be there.
Yeah. And if you get that money, then that money would likely be spent in 2022. That would be the construction time. The fastest time frame you could get to would be 2022 for that first phase.
No objection. We'll move it on to the department.
So just to be clear here, you're saying you're going to need now on the design and survey. Are we going to pay as you go on that?
Yeah.
And on the $1 million, that commitment would have to be made in the ordinance that we would prepare for July. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that the state knows that we've committed the funds.
Right.
Do you have an ordinance?
So I think the way that you guys are planning on doing it with two separate ordinances, one for the design of the whole corridor. The second ordinance would be to get the CCMG commitment process through.
Right.
Logansport. So it would be two separate kind of orders of operations.
Yeah. And paying out the design fee would be over 2021 and 2022, and then the $1 million for construction would be in 2022 whenever you go to bid.
Right.
So what I get out of Dave is he's saying that they will bill us when they decide, when they do the design and do the survey, because I think Indiana state law is that we can't pay you up front.
Right. No. It's billed as you go.
Yeah.
So after services.
I just want to make it clear for everybody, so when they go to vote.
We don't work that way anywhere.
Well, the state doesn't.
No.
That state board of accounts likes to live with old Dwayne up here. He loves them. So,
we invoice with work performed as we go.
That's the reason the first thing they come in, they ask him the Let me hear that recording again, to see what you boys had to say.
No,
All right.
that would be standard.
Any other question? We'll move it on to July 12th. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next one is the cost of the 2nd Street project.
Thanks, we've got it out.
Excellent.
Hard copy to reference. And, this is a follow-up meeting to the March 22nd Finance Committee meeting that we attended. So some of you were there, some of you weren't. So, I'm Mark Jesse, with AZ Engineering, and Andy Grog is here with me. So, I wanted to, quickly go over the contents. I believe, Jake has shared with everybody the documents related to the Psychic Street project. And all those documents that were included in his email are included in the folder on the right side. We've got a copy of our proposed agreement. We have a copy of the cost estimate for the construction options. We have an overall aerial map showing the improvements. And we also have that same aerial map up on the touchscreen, so Landon can go through that in any detail that you might want. We also have a larger scale aerial. It's in 3 pieces with match lines. It's a little easier to follow along with some of my older eyes. And then we have on the front of the right side, we have a 1-page summary that summarizes everything on 1 page. On the left side, we have some information about our company. This is similar information that was shared back in March. So hopefully you've had a chance to digest the information that Jake shared. And with that, I'll go ahead and have Landon touch on the suggested scope that we have included in our proposal.
So just like last time we met, we're looking at 2nd Street from Bartlett down to Clinton. Through our cost estimate, we had to redo the entire corridor with a mill and resurface, curb face walk, sidewalks, curb and gutter, all that. The construction cost was going to be around $1.3 million. At the last meeting that we had, we also had put together a la carte options for you guys. So if you wanted to take out a segment of sidewalk, say from Lincoln down to Clinton, there was a section of brand new sidewalk that's in there, and then we were going to connect, or we had proposed connecting all the way down to Clinton. If you decided you could take that section out. Same way out in front of the school. If you decided that the sidewalk out in front of the school was in good enough shape and wanted to keep it there for a couple more years, you had that option. And that's in that cost estimate, we had that broken down. On the one layout, the more zoomed in layout, it shows the different options that you can deduct from. So it kind of gives you that limit from Lincoln Street down to Clinton, Lux down to Clinton, and so on from there.
Okay, yep, so our suggested scope includes all the topographic surveying, similar to what you just heard for Erie Avenue. It includes all the engineering design services for the curb face walk. We have a 5-foot walk on the west side, an 8-foot walk or a trail, multi-use trail on the east side, and then concrete driver coats would all be replaced as well, along with approximately 30 ADA curb ramps. We have included in the cost estimate to have selective pavement repair, because it looks as if there's some pavement issues out there that need to be dug up and replaced with full depth asphalt, so that you're fixing things that are broken. You're not just milling it and covering up problems. So we've included in our proposal the pavement cores to help identify those areas, and we have a percentage of the construction cost based on that pavement repair. As Landon said, we've included sidewalks where there aren't any from down to Clinton Street. We also have sidewalk on the west side of Psychic between Lincoln and Lux that we feel is in good enough shape that we suggested it be left behind, and it's good enough. It's not bad enough to tear out and put brand new in. We also, the drainage system out there, we've talked to LMU and they haven't had any drainage complaints out there, so we don't see any reason to change the drainage that's out there. So we've included utilizing what's out there already. Street lighting, we've talked to the electric department and we can coordinate with them for new street lighting. Street lighting with community crossing money is an eligible item, so that cost would be 100% if you wanted to do that. And it's anticipated that everything would be within the existing right-of-way. One of the key things is to make sure that the utility coordination is done with proposed improvements with the private and municipal utilities. So that's something standard that we do. We would also have to do a Rule 5 permit application. That's the erosion control because of the area that's going to be disturbed. And also we have included the minimum environmental document that needs to be done for this type of project, assuming community crossing money. The cost, we've listed the construction cost there. Landon has estimated the cost based on the scope that we just went through at about $1.3 million. And due to the population of Logansport, it's a 50-50 grant with the community crossing program. Street lighting, if included, would be about $250,000 to $300,000, and that is 100% local cost. Our design, surveying, engineering, permitting, and bidding proposal is $134,300. And then we typically don't include construction phase services until later in the project, until you know exactly what the project is. And we can include that if you like. We normally wait closer to bid time to do that and to see whether the city wants to provide that oversight themselves or if they want some outside help from us.
Do we have street lights out there now?
Yes.
They're on the existing utility poles.
They're on the wood poles.
Okay, and why do we want to change for $300,000?
Well, that was something that was brought up, that it would be nice to have new street lighting. It doesn't have to be included.
Is there a reason why we're going street lights?
That's a question. Who just brought that
I
up?
just asked a question.
About the street lighting?
I think that was one of the early discussions that we had. I think was
A la carte option.
Yep, an a la carte
In case you wanted to, we wanted to make sure you knew.
Mm-hmm. And that can easily be dropped out because there's really little effort in that on our part.
Well, I like street lights, but
Yeah.
I mean, if we got them, why replace them unless they're bad?
Yeah, is the current lighting not sufficient, or?
Well, the utility poles on the west side are going to most likely have to be relocated because they're right there at the edge of the pavement.
Okay.
And in order to get your sidewalks in that we're proposing, those utility poles most likely will have to be relocated behind the sidewalk. So that is one of the options, because relocating that pole, you may need a new street light that's going to be on that pole as well. Or if you want to incorporate an entire new street lighting system, you can.
Yeah. Bob Dunderman indicated to me that typically on streets such as Psychic Street, that they typically only have street lights at the intersections, but along Psychic Street there's a lot more street lighting than just at intersections, so it's pretty well lit.
We'll get them, but I mean, if we got them, that's a question we got to answer there. So what you're asking for tonight, it is a commitment for $650,000.
That wouldn't be until next year.
Yeah, but do you need the commitment to apply for the grant?
No, that wouldn't be until after January of next year.
So the only thing you're asking for tonight for the July 12th meeting is $134,300 for your design and survey.
That's correct. Yeah.
All right. Anyone else have a question? Pardon, Dave?
I'm just curious, I know you didn't include it, but on the construction inspection, how common is that's used?
Typically, a project this size, they would want at least spot inspection. And since most of this is on surface as well, it's easier to do on a spot basis, part-time, instead of full-time inspection. Sometimes cities have spare people that can sneak out and take a look at things. This is a pretty simple project, construction-wise. Mm-hmm. Since we're not doing any storm sewer or any deep underground work, it's mostly milling and concrete work on top. So Typically, people want to have some level of inspection just to make sure they're getting what they're paying for.
Now, when we do community crossings, does the state come in and oversee any of this while it's going on?
And there is absolutely no requirement to provide inspection, which is kind of crazy. If they're given $1 million, you think they would want to have some insurance.
Yeah, and then we want to give you that option as well, because it's not required.
Well, I'm just curious, because I guess I hadn't really seen it come up till this year, because we've done numerous community crossings.
Yep, and then
grants, and I hadn't, so I just wondered how common it is.
It depends, like Mark said, on the projects and the community, because some feel, well, we don't need it, we can have our own staff do it, and then other times you get some that regret not having it because issues occurred out in the field.
I have a question on the street lights. The current lights that are on Cycle Street now, are they the new LED lights or are they the old lights?
I think they have been converted to LED. But they're the metal arms that are just bolted up to with holes at the top. And then this cost is what Bob Dunham gave me for the standard spun aluminum lights, not the ornamental lights that are downtown here. These are the taller ones. They're standard.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're looking for then is for us to move on to July the 12th meeting at this time is the $134,300?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
And that will get us started on the design so that when it comes to next January, when you do your application, we have firm construction numbers.
Yeah. No objection, we'll move to July 12th City Council meeting.
Yep.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next thing is to replace the roof, whatever it's going to cost us. One estimate we got was between $150,000 to $300 or $250,000 on the memorial home. If we're going to do it alone or not do it alone, something has to be done with the roof. And what I'm asking for here is to put on the July 12th City Council meeting is a vote up or down for a request to the clerk treasurer's office, either an RFP or an advertisement on replacing the roof. And like I said, I only had one, and that came from Reed Roofing. And I asked him why the difference between $150,000 and $250,000. And he said when he starts digging into that, if he has to replace the whole underlay, it's going to be closer to the $250,000 than the $150,000. So, and if no one objects to moving it forward for an up or down vote to put a request by the city out, either an RFP or advertisement.
Where would the money come from, Carl, if we went ahead with that?
Take it from Cedar.
Well, we can take it from the general fund. There's money in both of them. It depends on what the county's going to do. Is the county, from the last conversations that I had, the county is looking towards maybe going in with us, but they got so many new members on the county council, they don't know what all the old proposals were. But the reason putting out a request, advertisement or anything else for bids is if we okay it on the 12th of July, to put the bids out would be, I hope, before August the 1st. You got a 30-day gap there. You're talking wintertime before we can get somebody out to put a roof on. So that's the reason I'm asking now is to move forward. Once we get a roof that's not going to leak on there, then we can start talking to the other parties. What are we going to do about inside?
I think we need a commitment or something from the county before we get this going.
Yep, but like putting out the advertisement, just because someone comes back and says they're gonna do it for $50, doesn't mean we gotta take it.
Okay.
But it's just a process of getting the process going.
Well, what I'm saying is we need an answer from the county as to what they're.
Before we decide at a later date on the bids coming in, if we're gonna go with that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So what I would like to do is put it on the agenda for an up and down vote, just advertise.
What about it, Dave?
Pardon?
This question is to Dave. Dave's heavily involved in that building, or at least you seem to be heavily involved in it right now. What about we've tried in the past to work with the county on doing something with that, and that doesn't go anywhere. So more likely, if we were to do something, we're going to have to take it upon ourselves to do something. That's kind of my thinking. At least that's the way it's been for 5 years. Unless the county comes up with an answer as to what they want to do, if they're going to help us, if they're going to opt out.
Okay,
but one way or another, the way I'm looking at it, I don't think we can rely on the county. It's kind of like what is exactly our heart's telling us. So I'm asking Dave. I know something's got to be done to it. If we were to proceed as a city with the roof, at that point we're showing that we want to do something with it. Now that doesn't necessarily mean we're wanting to take the whole thing over, but obviously every time it rains, there's problems. And then the other case point being, I will not vote in favor of taking out of the general fund. That to me is not where that needs to come from. If it comes from CEDA, what position does that put us in, like using CEDA, as to if we have something else come up that we would need that money? I mean, how much of a bite does that put on CEDA? What position does that put the city in because it's, with other projects that we've funded with CEDA, just the money's there because the money's there. To me, doesn't mean that we can just, let's just go out and hit it. I may have $5,000 in my bank account, but I certainly don't feel like I want to spend all of it but $1. So I'm trying to be in a position where I can maybe vote in favor of it and be comfortable with the decision that we're making, because to me, I'm just not relying on the county. I mean, if this is something that needs to be done, all I'm asking for is what position does this put the city in, quote, CEDA. We were threatened with CEDA before because we were running, in their opinion, rapid with it or not doing what they were wanting us to do, So I'm asking you, Dave, as president, what kind of position does this put us in if we go ahead and proceed to say, yes, we will take care of the roof, at least get it to where, we've stopped the water problem. I'm not saying I don't trust the county. I'm just saying that in the past, working with the county, I want to work with the county. But if we're going to rely on the county to come in and, well, I've seen where that's gotten us in the last 5 years, so. Can you give me a little feedback, Dave?
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Very good. First of all, Larry, I think here's what I'd say, to kind of skirt the issue a little bit. I think the important thing right now is I do think Carl kind of nailed it with the idea that we need to at least advertise for proposals. We've got plenty of time to figure out exactly where our funding is. If we have the funding available, like Carl said, we have the liberty. We can turn anything down. We aren't required to accept anything. And quite honestly, we rolled through a lot of money tonight, and this is the first time we asked where we were going to get it. So I think we need to go ahead and consider moving it forward for an up and down on an RFP. I don't even know that we need to do that, but we can do it that way. And the reason that we need to do an RFP is because from what I've read, and this is where we need a little legal guidance, it says that any bid over $150,000, anything that costs over $150,000 on a public bid building, from what I read, has to be advertised, and you have to specifically outline what the project's going to be, so that when people bid on it, they're all bidding on the same project, same scope of work. So, and being a historical building, I don't know if there's hoops we have to jump through. I found out just today, who the architects originally were on the numbers that have been put together before, and there are some things that kind of outline what they want done with the roof. If you're gonna fix it, it needs to be done a certain way. It doesn't sound complicated, but at least it would outline for bidders what the project would be. So my answer in the short term is I'm not going to tell you what fund I think we ought to get it out, because I don't know. But I think we should move forward with the project. I don't, after having three weeks of open invitations, we had 5 people from the county tour the building. I got positive feedback from one member of the county. The rest of them were non-committal. One seemed pretty sure that he didn't see any reason to invest in the building. So would we probably be going it alone? I guess it would look at how you look at it. If we can reach an agreement while we're working on putting a roof on the building to preserve it, if we do reach an agreement with the county where we were to take it over, we could use their portion of that agreement to help fund that, whether it be before we put the roof on or after the fact. We get some additional funds from them. I guess that's the fairest answer I can give you. So,
well, I'm also looking at where Carl said our REACH report was 150 to 250. I would certainly, realistically, I'm looking at the 250. I mean, if it doesn't end there, great for us, but just because of the building itself, Reed's not going to throw a number out there if he's not going to be comfortable in that zone, and that's where my mind's at. I'd be overjoyed if it was 150, but the fact it's 250, it's like that's the number I'm looking at. It's a 250.
Well, and so what we can do is move forward to put an RFP. Now, an RFP, when it goes out, the way the state law, and I'll check back with procurement unless it's changed in the last 5 years, you don't have to have 3 bids. You can have 1 bid. An advertisement used to be, I don't know what the state law is on that. So, recommendation then to move it forward, an up and down vote, put an RFP out for a new roof for the memorial home. And then besides that, our attorney sitting up here, where do we stand on the lawsuit? Is that still going on with the county?
Yes.
Or is that, okay.
And the basic foundation you're talking about here is if we do nothing, if we do something, or we try to work with the county, we need some firm numbers. We've been working with approximations, with good faith. Logan Reed's been one of those guys that at various times over the last however many years. I've just been working on here the last year.
Yeah.
We've taken over. So we need some number to say, hey, this got this way over the last 20 years. It's not too much to ask to help bail it out of this situation. But we're needing some solid numbers to say, here it is, this is what we're really doing.
But in your professional attorney knowledge,
that you've got, it's, I'm trying to think on the spot there, Kelly. No, yeah, that's right. It's the best interest in the city then to go ahead and put an RFP out there.
I think it's time has come.
No other objections, move the July 12th meeting to put an RFP out, to re-roof, the Memorial Home, so. The mayor's all smiles, he's happy sitting up there, look at that.
Well, we'll try to prevent him from getting beat up during one of his board works meetings.
There you go. Thank you. Why you got beat up?
He's
not like this there, so
I believe he's getting beat up by past administrations.
Okay.
I won't go any further than that.
I missed it, so, okay, I need to start coming. It's 7:15.
Before we close out, I got a question. Dwayne, when are we supposed to, the state of Indiana recently came out with where they were going to, apparently the state of Indiana is going to be getting their federal money for the COVID stuff relatively quickly because they're going to do movements in July. How soon are we going to receive what
we can get our money at any point in time. Like I thought originally they were going to put them out at the end of May. That money's already been approved. And that's the reason why we did the last meeting. We established the fund to put that in.
And what are we looking at that the city of Logansport is supposed to be getting? What portion of that are we?
We'll get half of what the original or what the total is.
Which was
3.6. A little over 6, yeah.
Yep. 3.66.
So half of that.
Okay, so what I would like to run and this was not on Charles' thing, but I think I talked to him the other day about, I'd like council to think about a proposal of doing a stipend for our city employees, in particular, for all city employees. Taking some of this money, obviously, if the state can take some of this money and use it towards a stipend for some of their state personnel, such as, then that sounds like a direction that the city could probably do too. I personally think it would be a great idea if we could take some of that money and put it towards, and this is just my thinking, like $1,500 one-time stipend to go towards our public safety, being our police department, being our fire department. Now, full-time. Okay. This would not apply to a secretary or something like that. However, I would also like to see our parks department, our other departments receive something as well. So I would like to see, again, our public safety end get like $1,500 per person one time. That way we would not be, every year they couldn't use it towards pension or whatever else. It would be a one-time thing. But at the same time, I would like to see our other employees, because I don't want them to feel like they're being left out. They also did things during the COVID that, I want them to be fairly treated, but at the same point, I would like to see them get maybe half of what our public safety people would be getting, so nobody would really be left out. I think it's a great idea for some of the use of that money. In particular, when I'm listening to calls and we're sending police officers and we're sending firefighters in to places that were 3 and 4 people that were really sick in a structure that we were going to, that's the kind of thing that our public safety people were going into fire department. I called the chief of the fire department up one night when I heard where they were going to, and it scared me to death to think where they were having to go to. So I think it would be a good thing for morale for our city employees. I also don't want, I don't want us to forget that, we're getting out of this COVID thing and it's getting much better. However, I wouldn't have told you that a month ago. But I think our guys, this is how we can recognize our people for the fine job that they did do. And their job was a hairy job. I don't monitor the police traffic as much as I do the fire department's traffic, but if I had to be sent into some of those places, and our fire department had to be, our fire department was actually, if I remember right, the medics were stopping them before they even went through the door due to the conditions that they were going into to try to help prevent them from dragging it back to the station, in which case it goes to their families and works its way down. So to me, it would be a great way for us to, kind of thank them for it, for what they did. But at the same time, I think it would be a morale thing, So I would just like the other council members to think about it. Maybe put it on, put it for a meeting.
Well, we'll put it on the agenda for, it looks like we'll have another meeting on July 19th for August 2nd meeting and get an up and down vote then.
I think since we have the money, each employee should receive the same amount.
Well, we can discuss that on July 19th and put it for an up and down vote on August 2nd.
And I'm not opposed to that either.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that some jobs were,
the more money our city employees can get them for, Larry.
Yeah.
Some jobs these guys got into were more hairier than other parts, but
I understand, but you want to tell all your employees that they're valuable.
I definitely want all of our employees to be involved in it, not just part of them.
Okay, very good.
I agree, Larry. All right, anybody else? Got anything else to talk about? How about you, Mayor? Nothing?
Nope.
All right. 7:21. Finance Committee is gonna move on so the state board can hear every word that we said, and we'll move on to Dave here. So the Finance Committee meeting's over. Oh, well, I thought you'd give him the thumbs up. Doesn't he take the calling from you?
No.
All right, Mayor, we're ready.
Okay, hold on. Dwayne's gonna need a minute here. Gotta get some electronic stuff going.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, Larry, since the meeting hadn't started, what are we doing on this new fire truck? I mean, it's
Our
kind
new fire truck is not in process of being built yet. I keep looking every week. The chief told me that it should be getting built shortly. However, this comes back to you, Dave. I'm hearing that the truck has not been paid for yet. Where are we sitting on that? Are we going to do a 5-year payment? Are we going to do a one-time shot?
What do you mean it's not paid for?
Well, as far as what I'm hearing, it's, what are we doing with it? Are we paying?
We've allocated the funds they needed to pay so far.
I mean, when they send for money, I know that the city's going to pay them, but I'm just wondering, are we doing 5 years? Are we doing it all at once?
Didn't we approve a 5-year plan?
I thought that was the direction we were going, but then I get told it was
That's what
not.
I had read. I went back and read it.
So I'm curious.
We had entertained some different financing, but I don't think we determined which direction we were going. I'd have to go back and check.
Go back, we need to go back to the meeting we had, you're saying there, Jonathan, and find out. Yes, yeah, I thought it was something on the 5-year plan.
That's what I remember
But,
seeing.
I have to go back and look at the,
But then I was told differently, so, I don't know. Again, I know that when the money, when the trucks, we have to pay what we have to pay. I'm not worried about it, it's not paying. I'm just wondering, I like the 5-year plan because every 5 years, let's face it, we're gonna have to buy another truck on about an every 5-year basis just because of the age of our fleet.
you gonna wait 5 years on a tanker?
Huh?
Well, you try to tell me now we're not gonna get a tanker for another
Well,
5
I
years?
don't know what we can spend
Okay,
that.
well, I just asked, Larry. That's all right. I love it. All right, Mayor, anytime you're ready.
All right. 7:25 p.m. on Monday, June 21st, 2021. I'm Mayor Chris Martin calling to order the special called session of the Logansport Common Council. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
Amy Denford. Absent. Larry Hood.
Present.
Justin Nell.
Present.
Jake Devon.
Present.
Scott Key.
Present.
Reese Bair. Absent. Carl McPherson.
Here.
Dave Morris.
Present. Any reports from committees, boards, and commissions?
Mayor, on June the 30th, June the 21st, we had a finance committee meeting. Talked about tax abatement for 3 Logansport companies, and also retail recruitment renewal costs to the city. Moved the MVH money. Also increased the West Market expenditures fees. Moved the CARES money we received in May. Sent on to July 12th meeting, these last 3 that I said, also the cost of the Erie Avenue project and the cost of the 2nd Street, and a request for an RFP on the Memorial Home.
Thank you, Carl. Any other reports from committees, boards, and commissions? Seeing none, no old business. On to new business, Resolution 2021-129, Councilman Fee.
Resolution 2021-129, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport regarding continued tax abatements for companies in compliance with their statement of benefits. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on Resolution 2021-129, please.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Justin Nell.
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
Jake Devon.
Yes.
Larry Hood.
Yes.
Scott Key.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-129 passes. Resolution 2021-130, Councilman Nelms.
Resolution 2021-130, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, authorizing the expenditure of seeded funds for the payment in portion of the Buxton contract. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on Resolution 2021-130.
Second. Any further discussion? Call for question.
Scott Beatty.
Yes.
Larry Hood.
Yes.
Justin Nell.
Yes.
Jake Devon.
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes. Resolution 2021-130 passes. Any public comments? Seeing none, council member comments.
I'd just like to thank Bill for all the work he put into the resolutions that were on tonight's agenda and making sure that information was provided and accessible for us. Thank you.
Any other council member comments?
Not a comment, I got a question. Has the mayor and his staff decided what they're gonna do with this fireman that was acquitted?
No.
Okay. I got my answer.
Short answer, right?
Well, yeah, but, when he comes back, we're gonna have to think about 150, 200,000 we're gonna owe this fella, plus, paying for his medical and perf and everything else, and his salary for the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a meeting with council and kind of all make a joint decision. For sure.
Okay, well, I just wanted to be sure you're aware of it there, man.
I appreciate that, Carl. All right, miscellaneous business and any matters not already considered, including ADA Section 504 compliance or concerns. Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn at 7:29 p.m.?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Everybody second.
Call for question.
Hey, we got out here earlier than I thought. I told the wife, I said, we might be here till, Tuesday morning.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Scott Peet,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Jonathan Allen.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
This is the easy one to sign, right?